been very blessed this week to do several interviews where first time to be interviewed by certain people who are interested to learn, what do you mean intimacy expert? Is it like about sex, genital copulation? It includes that. But for me, intimacy is into me I see. When we look inside, I guess we could call them different aspects or different parts of ourselves. In the beginning, some were approved of and some were rejected. So I would say I had an intimate relationship with the parts that I thought everybody would approve of, but I would reject any part that I was afraid would get rejected. So I had great separation and judgment of these parts of myself. And so as we move into this next interview with Victoria Pippo, fellow Canadian, and the journey of her sexuality, I think about if you don't have a strong intimate relationship with yourself, bringing home all these different parts of yourself, and you have separation from, like if she had separation from her own sexual desires, sexual turn on, etc., the shift in her incredible journey would be very difficult. She'd be so hypervigilantly worried about what everybody else thought. And yet what I find so inspiring about her story and her journey is the deepening of her relationship with herself, the relationship with the divine, the relationship with her body's truth, and the relationship with her beloved. And how the two of them are weaving this evolution and seeing the God within each other, seeing the divinity within a situation, allowing their truth to be the ache of the divine, aching to know itself as them. This is an extraordinary interview. Take a deep breath, open your heart, release, notice if there's any judgments around your own sexuality that come up as you hear this conversation, and may this conversation be an invitation for you to soften, if not dissolve and melt away, any judgment against your own sexuality so you can be without apology exactly who you are. Enjoy, Victoria.
Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Season 13, Heart Broken Open, where intimacy is an inside job. Hello, delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are, Season 13, Heart Broken Open. I've just discovered this gorgeous goddess is a Canadian like me, Victoria Pippo. You can find her at victoriapippoinc.com. All of that will be in the show notes. Let me tell you about her first. She is more than just a spiritual teacher. She is a living embodiment of energy mastery, a psychic teacher. From child actor to addiction survivor, queer woman and entrepreneur to soul strategist, Victoria has walked through it all. Now, as a psychic gatekeeper and disruptor of the spiritual norm, she teaches high-level entrepreneurs, healers, and public figures to protect their energy and reclaim their divine power. Founder of the world's leading psychic developmental school, Victoria's teachings go beyond surface level spirituality. She helps her clients develop true discernment, dismantle new age illusions, and reconnect to their soul in a real way, raw way, no fluff, no fakery. Victoria's work isn't just about spiritual mastery. It's about survival, embodiment, and truth. She's not here to entertain you, although she may. She's here to wake you up. Welcome, gorgeous Canadian sister where have you been all my life? Here you are now, finally. Thank you.
What a bio. And I'm so happy to have this episode with you. I just have a feeling that this is going to be a good one. Like, got my little crabs. My fiance laughs at me because when I get really excited, I'll do this crab thing. And I'm just like dancing. I'm excited. It's going to be great.
So good, so good. Let's start there. How did you meet? How did you get engaged? All the things. Tell us the love story.
Oh, girl. So I got drunk in Jamaica when I was working on a cruise ship.
Of course you did.
For the Disney company.
Okay.
I was working on the Disney company portraying classic Disney princesses.
Okay.
In 2018, 2019.
Okay.
Got drunk on a cruise ship, kissed a girl in Jamaica, liked it.
Okay.
First woman experience I had had. I had been curious because I think a lot of actors and performers are, and I was a child actor, I was a performer my whole life,
Yeah.
but I never experienced romance with a woman sober and in
Yeah.
real time.
Yeah.
So I took that moment with that woman and was like, okay, well, clearly I'm curious.
Yeah.
And then I got off the cruise ship March 14th, 2020, when the
Mm.
world shut down for COVID. The same day.
Whoa.
That was a trip.
Yeah.
That was a trip. But my sister, not long after, messages me and is like, "Yo, have you seen this hot lesbian on TikTok who
Mm.
has been blowing up on social media that's from our hometown?"
Mm.
So she sends me at the time, Rachel was her name, sent me Rachel's profile on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's this sexy lesbian with like a full sleeve tattoo,
Sure.
long hair, gorgeous eyes, perfect teeth. I'm like, yeah, see, like if I was to be with a woman, I would definitely go for that kind of woman. Just
Yeah.
that. And so I had some courage. It wasn't liquid courage, but one day I reached out to Rachel on social media. She
Ah.
had like her astrology in her bio, and I
Uh-huh.
shot her a message and was like, "Yo, like how do you balance your fire with your water?" Like I didn't even know how to flirt with a woman, didn't know how to make a
Oh,
move, didn't even know if I was honestly, to be frank, actually truly invested in being interested in a romantic relationship.
yeah.
And she answered me. She had hundreds of women in her DMs every day being like, "You're the hottest girl I've ever seen, want to have my babies," like lesbian thirst trap culture, and answered me.
Mm.
Next thing you know, we're having just back and forth banter about them breaking out of a recent relationship and me giving wise sage advice. And then next thing you know, she reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I'm coming into Toronto. Would you want to hang out?" And I'm like, well, I have never had a date with a woman before. Is this a date? I don't know. Like, is this a date? Like, I'm freaking out now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she comes over, and the first thing I feel when she walks through the door is, this is a beautiful woman.
Wow.
And I've never felt that kind of in my body about a woman.
Mm.
Maybe I'm intrigued, I'm curious, I want to explore, but I can't. This
Yeah.
felt like some sort of sizzle, sugar in my body that I had never felt for a woman before.
Wow.
We had an extraordinary time. Apparently, to her, she thought I was straight. So she thought she was just hanging out with some random straight girl from our town. And I thought she was totally going to make moves, but she didn't. She was so respectful. We had a
Mm.
really beautiful time, but there was clearly something there.
Yeah.
So we had another date. This time she slept over. And next thing you know, if anyone is queer in the queer community listening to this right now, have you heard of a U-Haul lesbian?
No.
Okay, it basically means you meet twice and you pack up your shit and move together.
I thought
It-
that were husbands, but okay, keep going.
so
Yeah.
this is what we did. So we packed up our stuff after our
Wow.
second date sleepover and
Wow.
moved in across the coast of Canada in Vancouver together, and we've been together for 5 years since.
Wow.
Yep. So U-Haul lesbian, and about a year into our relationship, Rachel started to approach me about some things, whether it be videos of trans people online, being like, I'm curious about them. I don't know why I'm curious about them. They always were quite masked in their presentation, so meaning they were more masculine, they wore men's clothes, but they were very feminine energy. So to
Mm.
present a video of a trans person online on a random, Wednesday was odd. And then one day, not too long after that, they sat me down and said, hey, I think I'm transgender.
Yeah.
And it felt in that moment like something clicked. It made sense
Uh,
that part of what had been coming up in our relationship was like, I felt like Rachel wasn't totally being herself. There was this feeling of there's more to you, and I don't know what it is. She
yeah.
hadn't had her spiritual awakening yet, but then through being together and her starting her meditation journey, things started to naturally open up for her. But I felt like she was going to do a 180. And I
Mm.
just felt like there was something more for her. And when she told me that she was trans, it was like, well, of course, of course. And
Mm.
so Hayden is my soon to be husband. And I
Mm.
have been with him for his entire transition over the last 4 years.
Oh, so it's Rachel and now Hayden.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yep.
And tell me, okay, so how does that happen?
So, I mean, at first it was a lot of unpacking. Like,
Wow.
we picked Hayden's name by
Yeah.
looking at all the people that Hayden and I both slept with and making sure that we didn't pick that name. Like, I know that sounds so silly, but we're like, we're not sleeping with Orion and we're certainly not sleeping with, a Phil. It was like, we were like, let's pick a name that feels like it truly is yours.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we landed on Hayden and then found his middle name, which was Lane. And it was literally, it was like that path of discovery. Like, what do you want to be identified as then? Who do you want to express as? So Hayden Lane Tricker was that. And then it was working together to try to, share that with his family.
Mm.
And that was hard because even when Hayden's mother, was with Hayden as he came out as a lesbian, when he was in college, she was like, well, do you need to do all of that? Do you need to dress so masculine? Why don't you just like be normal kind of thing? So when we presented that to his parents that he was trans, there was a lot of healing and educating and also learning and then bringing that information back and trying to figure that out. And then it was like, well, are you gonna like medically transition? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, yeah.
And so Hayden started on testosterone
Uh-huh.
about 4 years ago, and he looked like little Justin Bieber for like a year. And then like kind of Ellen DeGeneres for a bit there. And then
Uh-huh.
naturally he felt called to get top surgery. So that's where they remove the breasts. And so he now has just little sutures from where he had and scars from where he had his breasts removed. And that was huge for him. It just opened up so much euphoria in his energy. You could feel like there was a part of him that felt really disconnected from his experience. But one thing he's always said was that he didn't remove his breasts because he didn't love himself. He did it
Right.
because he wanted to embody more of who he knew he was in spirit, but in flesh.
Wow.
And so he got his top surgery. That was about a year and a half into our transition journey, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
He's been on testosterone for the last 4 years. It was beautiful, actually. About almost a year ago, he decided to go off testosterone for a little bit. And so, what that looks like, just for anybody who doesn't know, is that obviously my partner is a biological woman and
Yeah.
owns that. And so,
Yeah.
he got his bleed back.
Wow.
So I watched my partner with a full beard, fully
Wow.
presenting male basically in society,
Wow. Wow.
get their bleed back by choice. And one of the big reasons why was because he wanted to connect back with more of his feminine energy. He wanted to detox his body, obviously, and he wanted to experience his woman in him, if you will,
Mm.
to resync back up with his natural energy. And so he had, I think, about 2 to 3 bleed cycles before he naturally felt called to go back on testosterone. And so we've been in this, what feels right? Is that the truth for you? What feels more like your honest expression? And it has honestly been the most extraordinary journey of my life, learning
Yeah.
how conditioned we are when it comes to attraction.
Mm.
Because let me tell you, there's nothing weirder than looking at your partner with a beard and boobs.
Right.
It doesn't matter who
Wow.
you are, we all think something is attractive. And I have watched my partner go through phases where
Yeah.
I'm like, this is weird. I don't know how to navigate that.
Yeah.
But then choosing to find God deeper in the union. And next thing you know, I find attraction in places I never thought was possible.
Such as.
Well, I mean, for a long time, I was like, I'm confused because people think that, when someone goes on testosterone, he just presents a different gender. That's
Yeah.
true, but we're also talking about hormone and polarity changes.
Totally.
So when we first started our union, I was in my hypermasculine when Hayden was Rachel
Right.
and he was in his hyperfeminine. When his transition started, it was like, oh, well, now he's a man in society. So now that he's a man in society, I have all of this conditioning about men that I need to heal.
Right.
And
Everything
I would,
comes from you. Yeah.
yes, and it's like, I want him to be the leader and I want to be able to,
Yeah.
lean back. And when we were in a woman to woman relationship, it was fine because I could take on more of that energy. So
Wow.
there's all of that shifting. And then a woman's emotions are like this. A woman who's on testosterone is like this.
Oh, okay.
So emotionally, he didn't have those peaks and valleys anymore. Hormonally, his energy flatlined. And so I'm used to being with somebody who's
Yeah.
deep and emotional and intuitive and like this. And then
Yeah.
suddenly it was like, is there a
Space
pulse in the house?
depth. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was huge, like unlearning what it was and being able to look at it for what it is and go, that's weird. I don't feel that feels weird in my system. And then, like, okay, well, do I want to choose this? Because Victoria, you don't have to choose this union. If you don't want this unique dynamic, don't. And I
Right.
always came back to, yeah, but those eyes and that spirit and that heart, I'd choose that if he decided that he was an alien tomorrow. Like I don't, at the heart of hearts, I don't care. And so
Wow.
then it was like, okay, how do I meet God deeper? And sometimes that looked like having that hard conversation with your partner and saying, listen, we're not in a traditional relationship. This
Clearly.
is
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
And I'm uncomfortable with your transition right now.
Mm.
And then having those edgy conversations of like, well, you can't change that. Some of those situations that make things uncomfortable in our union, but we can explore ways to maybe make the polarity a little bit sexier, maybe to make him feel like he's leading more, try new tools and toys that allow us to kind of try to create that energy.
Mm.
And then slowly but surely, it was like we kept finding attraction in constantly watching your partner evolve, not just physically, but hormonally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, basically all at the same time.
Wow. Just a technical question. So I'm 100% tracking because I keep going back. So she
Yep.
was then they was then he.
So at first, it was kind of like a lot of people who are, I guess, gender fluid,
Yeah.
they'll go from she to they,
Yeah.
or they'll go from he to they to
Yeah.
make people feel more comfortable.
Right.
He put at the time when he initially opened up about his transition, he, they. So people could ultimately feel comfortable with that transition, including himself.
Right.
That didn't last very long. It basically went from, well, what's the point? I know I'm Hayden, so I'm going to go by he.
Got
So
it.
there wasn't really a big shift from she to he.
Got it. Wow. And so I'm learning these terms. So top
Yep.
operation,
Yep.
has there been a bottom operation?
So the thing with bottom surgery particularly is there is not a lot of successful surgery at
Got
this
it.
time. There's so many potential infections, there's so many potential complications. And
Okay.
ultimately, for both him and I,
Yeah.
it doesn't change anything for him to get bottom surgery. It's such a gift, actually. There are so many amazing queer, I guess, allies and tools that you can use.
Yeah.
He wears something called like a packer, if you will. Basically, what that is, it's like exactly what you think. You know how we used to put like socks in our, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
tissues? It's the
Uh-huh.
same sort of thing, but it's more affirming for him. And
Mm.
so when we want to cultivate intimacy, he'll wear a packer. If we want to cultivate that polarity,
Mm.
he'll wear a packer to kind of circulate that energy for him and I.
Mm.
And so it was ultimately a decision where it didn't feel like the risk was worth the reward.
Mm.
And
Mm.
ultimately, the goal for Hayden has never been to erase his biology.
Got it.
It has always been to honor the fact that he spent 90% of his lives as a male.
Oh,
And in his spirit,
yeah.
he felt male. But he also honors that he's a biological woman until the day he dies. And he
Yeah.
loves that he is a biological woman. And so
Mm.
it's more about the expression than it is about changing what it biologically is to suit some sort of like erasure of who he was.
Wow. Okay. At some point, we need interview two with both of you. This
I
is
love it. I'd be happy to.
fan-fucking-tastic. Okay. So now let's do Victoria's journey of asking for your needs to be met, the turn on your spiritual evolution as this is all happening as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you were turned on. We started on the cruise line and
Yeah.
now we're engaged. And this has been like 10 years or so.
We've been together. We just had our 5-year anniversary 2 days ago. So we met in 2020 and have
Oh,
been
so
together.
5 years. So
Yes.
5 years. Okay, got it. So yeah, what have you discovered about you, your sacred sexuality? Yeah.
Honestly, that so much of it is learned. That
Mm,
was the hardest thing for me to understand. I grew
yeah.
up in an environment with divorce.
Yeah.
So the moment I came into this world, both my parents were getting divorced.
Mm.
And then they got remarried to new people. And then they got divorced. And then they
Oh,
got remarried. So I had 6
ooh,
parental figures
wow.
before I was 7.
Wow.
Hayden's parents have been together for 30 plus years.
Ah,
So already there was this energy of he's like, I'll unconditionally love you until the end of time. And I'm like, well, this is going to end one day because people always leave.
right.
So that had kind of always been like the undercurrent in our union was
Yeah.
being able to accept unconditional love
Mm.
and what that actually meant.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have evidence of that in my life. I've never had evidence of that in my life.
Or your nervous system.
Precisely. So every single time there was a change, it was like, well, maybe I should be with a biological man because I want to have children, or maybe I actually want to be with women because I never got to experience my queerness. Like, I never went to a gay bar. I met a girl and liked it, and that was that. Like, I was always living in that extreme.
Yeah.
And about 2 years into our relationship, so he had already started medically transitioning, and I was push pull. I don't know. Do I want that? Like,
Yeah.
every luteal phase, girl, it was like, maybe I should uproot my life and go back to cruise ship life and never continue this.
Dress up as a Disney princess.
Yeah. Just go back to Mary Poppins. You're not 30 yet. You still look the part. Like, just go for it.
Yeah.
And this was the first time that Hayden ever stood up to me and was like, I can't continue to be in this union where every other week you don't really know
Question.
what it's not safe for my nervous system.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a secure attachment style, is what he would say. And
Uh,
you are trying to figure it out. And
yeah.
I love you enough to continue to choose you, but I don't want to continue to put myself through this. So you need to decide if
Yeah.
you want to choose this union.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in previous relationships, I would have already sabotaged by now because I would assume loss
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Better to have ended it than to have ended someone to end it with me.
Totally.
And so that fork met the road moment. And I ultimately, obviously, as you can tell, I decided like I need to learn to accept this kind of love with, as well as understanding healthy conflict resolution
Yeah.
without assuming an extreme.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so slowly but surely, we'd get into a conversation about how I was uncomfortable sexually, whether that be because at the time, he still had breasts and I knew it made him uncomfortable. And I wanted my partner to be on top so that I could surrender. But
Mm.
if my partner's on top and they have breasts and they're not comfortable with their breasts and their breasts are hanging over and I can feel their insecurity and now I'm insecure because they're insecure. So
Yeah.
being able to address that and say, listen, I'm uncomfortable because I know you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And being able to voice that and also say, and that doesn't mean that this is the end of our union. Victoria,
Right.
this doesn't mean that this is the
Right.
end. Like,
Yeah.
this is okay. You're allowed to say what you want, say
Mm.
what's on your heart in a
Mm.
loving way, and not also mean, and then they all lived horribly ever after.
Right. Right.
So it's this gentle reparenting and sometimes
Yes.
harsh reparenting, but ultimately, slowly but surely, what ended up happening was that I was able to accept my partner for exactly who they are and
Right.
find beautiful attraction in unique ways.
Yeah.
Unique ways, whether that be using toys and being okay with that and allowing him to use toys that make him feel masculine and empowered and allowing that instead of being like, well, we're never going to have a real cock, so I'm never going to get what I want.
Mm.
It's like, well, you're in this union, so either decide to accept him for exactly what he is
Mm.
or don't harm him in the process by acknowledging that that's not really what you want. And then from there, I was like, okay, well, then
Mm.
accept what he can give you.
Right.
And slowly but surely, I was able to accept the love that he could offer me and the beautiful, fluid expression of what that is.
Wow. And what I'm also hearing is this experience is training your spirit, your soul, your nervous system, your body, that when things get uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you don't have to go anywhere.
Yep.
You don't have to run for the door. You
Mhm.
don't have to, leave before they do. You get to sit, I guess, sit in the fire
Yes.
and integrate probably
Mhm.
lifetimes,
Yep.
right? And certainly this lifetime, and realize, wow, they're not going to go anywhere.
Yes.
I don't have to go anywhere.
Mhm.
What else is possible? Like transmutation, integration, new possibilities over and over and over and over.
Yes.
Wow.
And
And
I think the biggest possible way that I ever could, I'm thinking to myself, what was I thinking when I was like,
I don't know.
in
You
my
sound
soul contract, gonna marry a trans man? Like,
a clause. You can kind of,
yeah, I should have double, triple checked that because wow, the
yeah,
gift of my union with Hayden is that I don't know that there could be a better partner for me.
because,
I don't think that I would ever be able to accept that kind of unconditional love
mm,
from just another heterosexual man
yeah,
or some girl. It needed to be the way that it is so I could learn how to grow through the discomfort and still choose unconditional love.
yeah,
It wouldn't have been the same if my partner just like got gray hair. It had to be,
this extreme.
it had to be.
You're saying something that's really helping me right now. So my son hasn't called me for 5.5 years.
Well,
Mom died 23 years ago, and I've been single, and I was out on the rock this morning meditating, still have trouble believing like this is the way my soul is going to evolve alone, right? It gets lonely.
mm-hmm.
And I get judgmental. But hearing you, if it was just some regular guy or just some regular lesbian, you wouldn't be so fucking intimidated, left, right, and center, nowhere to go but surrender, nowhere to go but I see the God in you, nowhere to
Yes.
go, right? And so I'm just having this moment of like grace that maybe for my soul,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I need to
Yes.
literally be one with all, like making love, like I'm on these 31 acres, Victoria, in New Mexico. It's just like epic.
Mm-hmm.
And if I allow,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so one with everything. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
When it came down to the root of it, it was like I I need to accept that this is how God is showing me how he loves me.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's just the weirdest, most unconventional, most unique thing.
Yeah.
And yet, I could never live with the part of me that went back to my old patterns. Because this love, even though it's so dualistic and so unique,
Yeah.
it is, in my opinion, it is purity in purest of forms because the only option we have is to unconditionally love each other or leave.
Totally. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't
I
get to
so
kind
get
of
that.
live in that place of, my resentment is building and their disconnection is built. We don't have that option because we have to constantly fortify the polarity because the dynamic is always changing.
That's what I meant. You don't, once you think you got the hang of it, it
Yep.
changes. Right. So you
Exactly.
can't be in conclusion.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to be in the present moment. You have to surrender. You have to be curious. You have to lean in. You have to take ownership. You have to speak up, like all the things.
Yes. I can never say, oh, well, it wasn't like this when we first started
Sure.
dating. You see that a lot in unions. It's like, well, when we were married, we were like this, and now we're like this. I'm like, Hayden and I don't have that sort of luxury. If we want to continue in our union, it has to be like, what's here right now? Can I meet
Yeah.
God deeper? What's here right now? Can I meet God deeper?
Yeah.
And in every fork of the road moment I've been in of just growth and discomfort and wanting to run and feeling uncomfortable, that one question just
Yeah. I
keeps me
love
there.
this. So what is a day in the life of the two of you in terms of these practices? Like I'm a huge dyad fan. I don't know if you know what I mean by dyad,
A
but
little bit.
like you ask a question, like tell me something you're afraid to tell me,
Okay, yes.
and then I'll answer. But all I get to say is thank you. And it's a very sacred container. and
Yes.
no rebuttals and no using it as ammunition later, but just like this deep, heart open, walls down, intimate, vulnerable connection. I love them. I discover who I am through them and obviously who my partner is.
Yes.
So there must be like some sort of structure of
Mhm.
deep, regular communication
Yeah.
to keep you guys on, like sacred guardrails.
Yes. Oh, 100%. And one of the biggest things for us is we always have to make time for some form of intimacy. First
Mm,
and foremost, it's like we need to stay connected because the
yeah,
second that we disconnect, it can feel like we are living in completely
yeah,
separate energies.
yeah.
And so in our union, one of the biggest things that we always ask each other is, what do you need so I can support you in this moment?
Nice.
Right? What that's the biggest thing. And because I tend to go into a little bit more of my masculine, I'm also the provider financially in our household, so that kind of
Uh,
puts me in that state. Then a lot of times what we end up going into in our intimate time together is always, do we want to explore with different forms of toys? And so
mm.
for me, for him, he often likes to be in that more masculine energy because I really also need to get into that
You need your balance. Yeah.
100%.
Mm,
And so we usually use very simple things like blindfolds,
mm,
ropes,
mm.
strap-ons,
Yeah.
and different sensory things. So like ice or forks or back of the spoon, like something
Mm,
like that, because we're both so energetic as well. As you saw, I'm a psychic development teacher in my bio. So when I close my eyes, obviously everything turns on,
mm.
literally. And so the more that we can play with sensory and communicate, how does that feel? Do you enjoy that? Is that
Yeah.
something that's supportive for you right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that supportive for you right now? Because sometimes we're changing, like what works for me right in that moment doesn't feel like that. Sometimes I want him to be in that super masculine energy. Sometimes I don't. And so that's really how we navigate intimacy. It's usually with some form of energetic sensory connection to begin, to
Yeah.
start to circulate the energy without, hard cock, wet vagina put together makes a baby. Like we don't have that. So it has to be more of like getting the toroidal field to start to work together through sensory and energetic connection. And then after the toys have been utilized, then it's kind of opening up to however we choose to go deeper.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Um, do you want a family?
Yeah. Yeah, I never did. I think the
Mm,
right man, right person in your life will make you question and consider things you never thought was possible.
mm,
But I can't imagine a world where Hayden doesn't get to parent somebody.
mm.
He is an extraordinary person and he is totally the father of our children. And so it's been something I've thought about actually more recently. And I think we may try in the next few years. One of my good friends actually found this angel donor website for queer
Mhm.
people.
Okay.
And some guy named Philip will meet you at a hotel, jack off in a bathroom, give you his sperm, and then never see you again.
Okay.
And you just basically turkey baste it and hope that you have a baby.
Okay.
And
That's the
so
plan?
it worked for my friend who is an extraordinary psychic and channel in a beautiful lesbian relationship. This man, it's like a Tinder profile, so it'll be like, you know, doctor, this successful, this healthy, this blood type, this, that,
Yeah.
like
Don't we want
no
to know a little
disease.
bit more than just Phil?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
full comprehensive
Okay, good. Good.
analysis
Yeah,
of
yeah,
whether or
good.
not they're worth swiping right,
Yeah.
thankfully. And yeah, she conceived the first go around
Okay.
and had a beautiful star seed named Bodhi. And so if we are going to go some way, he would prefer that I would carry,
Hmm.
mainly because he wants to be there for the support and the initiation into motherhood. That's very important to him.
Yeah.
Not something I'm particularly excited about if I'm being completely transparent. I don't like the idea of vomiting and like being unwell. Like that idea to me doesn't sound sexy, but for him, I would. I would. And so I'm definitely thinking about carrying if we can. if we can. It's too late now, we think, for him to be able to freeze his eggs, because in some scenarios, before he's on testosterone for too long, he could have froze his eggs, and then we could have used them to combine them.
Oh,
Yeah,
curious.
so could have been a little bit of Hayden, a little bit of me, but ultimately we had a hard conversation about that, and
Yeah.
he was comfortable with however we could conceive so that we could be parents together, and he felt that he was okay either way.
Wow. Um,
So,
and just a little seed there. No conclusions is one of the things that's helped your union. Pregnancy doesn't have to be hard. My pregnancy
exactly.
was so easy. I didn't get sick. I didn't get
Me
nauseous.
too.
I friggin' loved it. I was teaching Pilates up until the night before I gave birth. My birth was 7 minutes, no ripping, no medicine, like natural. Like, yeah, it doesn't have to be hard.
Okay, we will chat about that.
Yes,
We
yes,
will chat about that, because that is ideal, of course. I think for every woman that's ideal. Just the fear of how my body could respond, I think makes me more afraid of
yeah,
the preparation and the actual gift of the miracle.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, he's like, I want to be there and I want to be as close as I can to support that journey for you.
yeah, yeah.
And that for some reason is like, okay, Hayden, whatever you desire, like, let's do it.
Wow. Yeah, for me, it was hypnobirthing, which really addressed all the fears
Yes.
prior to birth.
Huh.
So, all of the conclusions and things you watched in movies, or
Yes.
maybe something in a past life, like whatever it was, I just integrated it all
Huh.
so that by the time it happened, I was eating an In-N-Out burger sitting on a ball. And my husband at the time was like, those contractions, no, they're not contractions, they're surges. So that when I didn't contract, it just it just came down. And I'm like, whoo, that was a big one. And then I was fully crowned. And 7 pushes later, or 5 pushes later, 7 minutes later, it was, yeah. So it doesn't have to be difficult. And you have to do the work. You have to do the work to deprogram or
Yes.
integrate things. So we'll talk. We'll talk if that ever occurs for the two of you. Totally possible. And
Beautiful.
so beautiful to be role models in a new way of love, of gender, of sexuality, of parenthood.
Yes.
It's, I think, important to document this and to be able to be there for others.
Yeah. Because I
This,
do think that there's a lot more androgynous spirits coming on planet Earth right now.
yeah, yeah,
And I believe that the gift of our union is that we're really modeling that intersection between queerness and spirituality. Because
mm,
there's a lot of infiltration in the systems that are at play right now about gender and sexuality.
mm,
A lot that are trying to detour and confuse children.
mm,
But there's also those implants on planet Earth, because more star seeds are coming in more indigo. They're coming in stronger psychically. They're having less karma, more purified spirits, and more of that
yeah,
androgynous energy, because I believe that we are preparing for more direct contact with
yeah,
extraterrestrial life forms. And
yeah,
we need to be able to understand, accept, at least appreciate diversity within this realm before we start to access anything else.
well
And
said.
so I think there is a code in our union that is preparing and ushering that intersection between queerness and God,
Mm,
loving God, being deeply inherently connected to God, and knowing that queerness is not a sin. And then
yeah.
also weaving in spirituality, being a channel for the divine, actually working with extraterrestrial life forms, working as an energy healer. And again, weaving that in with knowing that that is not a sin. And like those three very controversial conversations coming together in such deep integration in our union.
Mm,
It's like the controversy of all controversies. But yet, I think that we are such beautiful codes for where we're going.
I love that. One of my teachers, Andy Pietro De Santo, woman, man, and teaches so beautifully about not just masculine, feminine energy, but divine masculine, divine feminine, divine child, divine human,
Mhm.
divine human. And it's been wonderful for me to be in his energy and in his teachings, and to allow within me part of this oneness, my journey of being quite alone, is okay, in all transparency, I have a picture of Jason Momoa on my fridge, like a poster, because I just think he's so fucking hot. But that's my little way of like going, okay, divine masculine, what do I need to do tonight? Because
Mm,
I can just work and work and work. And it's like, that fuzzy blanket, that faux sheepskin rug, do your feminine practice, roll around, go out and be on the rocks every morning. And I let Mother Gaia hold me, just all these different nature elements, energetic elements. I think it's important that we're embracing and
yes.
and also just I even had a client here. I do psychedelic somatic integration work with people, and one of my male clients, very masculine,
Mhm.
and will allow himself to be held by his female partner, if it's like sexy time or end of the day or whatever, but still has an edge of asking to be held when he's scared,
Mm,
afraid of his dad passing,
mm,
had a bad day at work. Like that, even so, just these roles of masculine, feminine. It's
yes.
beautiful to see just the life you've chosen to come in, and the teaching of your lived practice. Okay, so this is definitely has to be part one. We're gonna do part two another time.
Love
We're
that.
gonna do after the show here in a minute. Dance, I'm gonna ask you some delicious questions, but in completion, um, what is it like? Do you hang out mainly with like a queer community where there's not a lot of judgment? Do you experience a lot of judgment in day-to-day life? What is it like to be Victoria and Hayden, just with compassion of your brave path?
I think most of the hate that we get is online,
Mm,
mainly because we walk outside and we look like everyone else.
yeah, yeah,
So how we perceive versus who we actually are different.
right, right,
People wouldn't know that we're queer.
right.
And I think for us, it's been hard because when Hayden was Rachel, he had mostly female friends because
Uh-huh.
girls have girlfriends.
Right.
But then when he began his transition and then he had a spiritual awakening, of course, alongside that, there was distance that happened. For myself, finding and cultivating deep friendship has, for me, been hard in the queer community.
Why?
It, I find that a lot of queers are very close minded while also asking for equality. A lot of my performer friends are gay, and I went through a lot of ostracization when COVID happened, and I had some stances about the world. And I was kind of leaving the performing world and stepping into my role, my next iteration of my role as a healer. And there was a lot of judgment that was cast on me. And so I think a part of it had created a little bit of a wall when it came to where my spirituality and some of my higher perspectives about the world at large wove into the community of queer people at large. And I find that it's hard to find an open mind in a community that wants an open mind, sadly.
Mm,
However, I have found an extraordinary, extraordinary queer best friend. She is a celebrity, which is not great for her because, she's in the public eye and was publicly lesbian and then fell in love with a man. But she'd always identified as bisexual, but the community basically pigeonholed her as like she's a lesbian. And so when she was in a relationship with a man, there was all of this controversy towards
mm,
her and all of this hate and judgment because they felt like you were supposed to be the lesbian that I looked up to, and now you're this. And that energy, it
mm,
was so heartbreaking to witness that as her friend.
mm,
But it's also, I think, such a code of being a conscious queer,
mm,
which is, can I keep forging in my unique path, even though sometimes it feels like, you know, pushing the camel through the eye of a needle in a community that maybe has not yet had their spiritual awakening to the degree or the understanding potentially that other people have.
yeah. I think it's very common on a soul's evolution to outsource
Mm-hmm.
your worth, your power, your safety, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as you start to find your truth and you start to speak that truth to get
Yes.
judged, then that builds the walls. So
Yes.
I have compassion, understanding, and also compassion that that's hard to, I'm all about intimacy. So you
Yes.
can't have walls and intimacy at the same time,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And I think for both Hayden and I, we're still trying to find what those connections look like. So
Yeah.
we get married in 1 month from today, actually,
Mm.
September 28th, 2025. And we've decided that for our union, we're not having like groomsmen or bridesmaids, but rather our tribe.
Oh, that's lovely.
And so we have a group of about 10 people, some very sexually fluid, all very spiritual. And our shaman is flying out to Vancouver to create a ceremony for us. And
Nice.
that is how we are going to wed. And for us,
Mm.
that kind of represents our union in so many ways, where
Mm.
it's not about, this group or this group, but rather those that truly understand the merging that's
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
especially between like the fluidity and expression of the spirit and like the limitlessness and
Yeah.
the
Mm.
non-judgment and non-resistance to what that looks like.
Mm.
And so we've got our two extraordinary groups of people. Hayden and I have two crystals that we've been sleeping with that represent his aura and my aura. And we are grinding them down into shards
Mm.
and combining them together to represent our energies coming together, basically our hearts coming together beyond, if you
Mm.
will,
Mm.
flesh. And so when it comes to connection for us, that's the heartbeat of what we're looking for.
And then what are you going to do with the shards?
We're going to put them in the water or around the forest because
Ah,
we
nice.
are lovers of old growth trees, as you know.
Uh-huh.
Yep, BC. Old growth trees, hikes with our golden retrievers. We're going to
Mm.
take the crystals and give them back to the earth to
Oh.
represent spread, if you will, spreading our
Mm.
benevolence and our love and our commitment to God in union
Mm.
back to the earth.
I love this. You're just reminding me, I spent some time in Seashelt on the Sunshine Coast and hiking through the Hidden Grove and these huge Douglas firs. Just,
Yes.
yeah, just so happy.
Yeah. Every
Ah,
day, that's us. We've got two big golden retrievers and we're on
yep.
hikes a few times a day. So that's
Mm.
exactly how we want to kind of replenish back to the earth and something that,
Mm.
again, like we don't have an officiate, we're not doing a traditional wedding, and yet we're merging all of those controversial codes through our systems so that we can, what we
Yeah.
believe, embody what this kind of new androgyny
Mm. Yeah.
freedom of expression looks like in this new wave of evolution.
Yeah, I love this. Can't wait to see photos or videos and follow up with you about this. And thank you. Like when I asked you about getting engaged, I had no clue this is where we were going to go, and I've loved this conversation fully. And then at the very end, there was just this wave of energy that really spoke to me. I mean, maybe my beloved's an alien. I don't know. But the feeling of a community on this planet of no judgment, curiosity, care, allowance, the brave, speaking of truth, sitting in the fire, no one's leaving, no one's judging, and what else is possible? And being able to emanate that from this conversation, your life, your work, the crystals, the planet, the trees, just everything. I just feel you are very held and blessed. And I'm very blessed that we've had this conversation today. Thank you.
You are the only space where I have talked about Hayden and I like this.
Stop it. Why?
Well, I've talked a lot about the agendas and I've talked a lot about aspects of our union, but you created an intimate space for me to be able to speak about
Mm,
the most important thing, which is my union and the hard conversations that come as a byproduct. And so
yeah.
the reason why is because of who you are.
Oh, thank
I
you.
could have talked about psychic development and channeling for 45 minutes, but instead I think we had the conversation that
Mm,
truly makes what you're doing
mm,
so freaking good and rich. So thank you for
mm,
cultivating the safe, intimate space for
mm.
someone like myself who
Yeah.
has a very intimate story to be
Yeah.
able to feel like this is the right space to be held in it.
Oh, I fucking love you.
I love you too. This
You
is
little crabby fingers were right.
part one.
That's such an honor. I appreciate you feeling me.
I do.
I do feel unconditional love. Just and authentic, like space for me to be curious too. Like you didn't judge me for not knowing what I was asking too. So it was just so beautifully flowing.
You
Yeah.
know, I knew nothing. Nothing. I knew of one trans person growing up, and in high
Right.
school, people made fun of them.
Right. Right.
when I was in high school, it was like we called them trannies and made fun of them. Like this is a
Right.
new thing.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the same way that we're all learning and trying to adopt to technology and the evolution of the world, I approach my relationship with Hayden and all those weird, that's a personal question, with this sense of curiosity and also loving education because that's what I needed.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
what he needed, it's what I needed. And
Mm,
so it's what I try to give to the world because
totally.
we're all just curious beings. We all have questions. And I believe for the most part, like people are good people.
Yeah.
And we just get a little bit confused and lost in the path. And most people, when it comes to trans people, are just misunderstood. They
Yeah.
just don't have all the information.
Yeah.
And so if I can be one person who can educate from my lived experience of it, and
Yeah.
I can impact whoever feels called to listen to this to go, maybe, wow, well, then I win. I win.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I love that. And as we complete this beautiful conversation, which I'm going to invite you to join us over on Patreon after, maybe the reason I was able to provide a gift to Victoria of this safe place for her to be intimate has to do with my life commitment of all my little Allanas who I would normally judge and push away. And even the tears you just saw on this conversation, it's a practice. You don't like get there. It's just more and more. Can I bring her into the fold? Can I bring him into the fold? All these parts into the fold. That the more we can be with who we are without judgment and have this internal unity with who we are, we can give that gift of internal unity and intimacy to everyone we meet on this path. So my request is after this conversation, please don't go right back onto social media or out you go. Take a moment, be still, feet on the ground, be in nature and listen. What is awakening within me? And whatever it is, it's perfect. Uncomfortable, comfortable, just allow truth to arise and allow this conversation to have moved the needle of a deeper relationship with yourself and the divine. We love you, and we'll see you over on after the show on Patreon. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. I'm starting to get packed up. I'm leaving town for a week, and someone's going to come by and clean the house while I'm gone. So I'm looking at my bedside table, and I'm like, should I put my vibrator away or should I leave it out? I've had the same conversation with myself for decades. And sometimes there's just like, oh no, I have to hide it. Shame, shame. Other times it was more like, I'm not going to let anybody tell me what I can and can't do. So it was kind of like a reactionary projection, kind of like in your face. Here's my vibrator. So now I'm kind of just like, well, what would be a win-win-win for all? Instead of it being all about me scared or all about me, I'm so confident, really just, can I make all my decisions in life self first, honor self first, but allow that honoring of self to be a win-win for all? I don't want to make people uncomfortable, but I also don't want to shame myself. I say all this because wasn't it amazing to hear the conversation with Victoria and I of how their sexuality has unfolded from Rachel to Hayden and different toys and just the shameless or free of shame, heart open conversation around sacred sexuality and authentic communication and turn on and toys and foreplay and all the things, and their commitment to intimacy every day, whether intimacy is actually genital copulation, actual sex, penetration, or is it breath and gaze and touch and communion, all the ways we can be intimate. May this conversation remind us all to live our sexual truth, to slow down enough to feel our sexual truth, to slow down to feel where there is shame or fears or old wounds from past relationships that are creeping their way into the present moment. And can we be unapologetic, not the unapologetic like in your face, but that sweet spot in the center where you just live truth. It just is without apology. She's such an inspiration for this in all of our lives. please follow her. Please learn more about her. Please check out her website and her psychic offerings as a healer. And I do look forward to the next time I'm in Vancouver, that I'll be able to meet them both and hopefully see some photos of their beautiful wedding and see how their desires for a family are unfolding. Thank you for being with us on Intimate Conversations. And if there's something within you that has been triggered or flushed up that you're like, you know what, it's time to integrate this so it doesn't have to be in the way anymore of my authentic, pure, sacred sexual expression for myself and for my partnership or for my dating life, I would love to hear from you. It's called an Intimacy Breakthrough Experience Call. You can register for it on my website, and there's a scholarship for being a subscriber, a listener of Intimate Conversations right in the show notes. So use that, and I can't wait to see you in my calendar. All my love.